Okay, so let's talk about business analysis information. So we've looked at some of the important aspects of the knowledge area. We looked at elicitation, we looked at solutions, delivering solutions, evaluating them. We've also looked at the requirements lifecycle and other aspects of the business analysis body of knowledge area. So we call that BABOK. Now, let's look at business analysis information. Now, business analysis information refers to the broad and diverse set of information that business analysts analyze, transform, and report. Don't forget, previously, I talked about you needing information to be able to actually make some kind of decisions. You need to do some research. You need to look at some standard guidelines. Look at, because your goal is actually to cause change, is to cause some kind of transformation. Have you heard about digital transformation 4.0?
No.
Okay, good. So it's like the new age. If I should Google it for you, digital transformation 4.0. So it's a new set of changes that is happening within today's industry. Previously, it used to be machines. It used to be locomotive kind of machinery. Today we're talking about AI. Today we're talking about IoT, Internet of Things, right? Today we're talking about machine learning. So because as analysts, for us to be able to make some kind of informed decisions, then we need to rely heavily on data. So information is very crucial in us making decisions. If we need to analyze a particular business and say, okay, we want to cause growth, some of the kind of information we need is to see how the business have been doing in time past. True or false?
True.
We need that information. We need an Excel sheet maybe of the different products of that business, the different highlights of what the business is doing, how the business is doing, how much profits the business is making month A, B, C, as in January, February, all up to December. So analyzing that data is very key as business analysts to be able to make informed decisions. So we need to be able to analyze it. We need to be able to transform it. When you say transform, take for instance, you have data in a very unstructured format. How do you transform that and make it structured? Give an instance. Let's say in health care, as an analyst, you have people's height. That height is information, but how does that height come in? That height might come in meters. Some people have them in cm. Some people have it in inches. Some people have it in feet. Some people have it in different formats. But if we need to analyze data, we need to make everything standardized. Make it in feet. Are you together?
Yeah.
Good. So we need to transform that data to like a standard format so that when we now start analyzing it, everybody's like at the same page. Then, of course, we need to report it. You see this aspect of analyzing, transforming, and reporting data is the job of the data analyst. But the business analyst is supposed to have very good grasp of how to work on data. Now, example of business analysis information includes eliciting results, requirements, design. I've given you like case study of some of these things, solution options, because not all solutions are going to work. So you're going to look at solution A, solution B, solution C, which is going to work. So you want to be sure of the different options. Then, of course, you want to look at the solution scope. What is it addressing? Some solutions will actually, in scope-wise, address some certain needs. It might not be all encompassing, it might not cover up everything, whereas some solutions are going to actually deal with everything. Then, of course, you want to look at change strategy. If you need to now migrate and change from where you are to where you want to be, because don't forget, an analyst is to look at the present, look at the past, analyze the present, and see how to cut change, to see how to move the company to the future, to the next phase. Doing that change is also very important. So what does the word design mean to you? Listening. What does the word design means to you?
Are you asking me?
Yes, I'm asking you. Look at it now. Are you seeing my screen?
Yeah.
Good.
Design to me is
You have an
will I
expert.
say drawing no. What let me say. Okay. Design is usable presentation of it. Yeah. I
Remember
don't
when I,
say drawing
remember, yes, remember when I showed you that that design for what the end game was? Did you see the difference between the design and the actual solution?
Come again.
Did you see? And I showed you like 2 demos this morning. I showed you the requirements.
Okay.
I also
Okay.
showed you
Yeah.
the design. Then I now showed you the final solution.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you see that the design is just a usable representation of what the solution is going to be like. So in real world, like that case study I gave you, the 2 of them, you don't just propose it, you don't just implement a solution. That's what most people do, and that's why their solutions don't work. So you need to first elicit your requirements. You need to make a mock-up, make a design, make a workflow, make a wireframe, make like a UI of what it's going to be like. Then you need to have different options. Then you need to implement the solution. I think that the last stage, you now want to start evaluating those solutions. Right? Do you understand that? So design focuses on understanding how value might be realized by a solution if it is built. So what's an enterprise?
Okay.
So an enterprise is a system of one or more organizations and the solutions they use to pursue a shared set of common goals. You can say a bank is an enterprise because they're going to have different um, uh, kind of solutions to meet some certain needs. Let's say to young people, to the old, to SMEs, to big companies, to small companies, and there's always a common goal. At times, you can have a bank that is going to be serving healthcare, doing insurance. At times, they are going to be doing retail banking. They're going to be doing corporate banking. They're going to be doing investment banking. They're going to be doing different things. So it's just a system of one or more organizations and the solutions they use to pursue a shared set of common goals. Some of their common goals can be to deliver value. Some of their common goals is to do what? Is to make profit. Some of their common goals is also to help social enterprise. Some of their common goals might be, okay, we want to look at SDGs. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Organization. So autonomous group of people. So you see, you have an enterprise, you have organization, then you now have team. Enterprise, organization, then people or teams. So an organization is an autonomous group of people under the management of a single individual or board that works towards common goals and objectives. This is very clear. Can I move on?
Yeah.
So what does it mean to plan? So you propose. Now, you see some of the case studies I gave to you this morning, they were planned as of the time they were proposed. Some of those things made it to the final requirement. Some did not. Some were rearranged, some were edited before you now have the final document. So a plan is just a proposal. So that's why one of the very first knowledge area you have is what? It's you doing business planning and monitoring. So because if you want to cause change as an analyst, you must do what? You must plan, you must propose. Risks, what is risks? Effect of uncertainty on the value of change, a solution or enterprise. So what's the risk? What's the uncertainty? Right? At times you might want to propose let's say, migrating a company from using a website to sell their items to mobile app. Some of the risks are some of the uncertainties that you're going to face. Some of the uncertainties is, do you have a lot of your customers, are they using mobile apps? Can they operate mobile apps? Or you see a company that says, okay, because we want change, we want profits, we want some shared values between the enterprise and the stakeholders and the users, we want to migrate from using doing offline sales to websites. Or we want to have a hybrid means, but we want to give more attention to digital marketing so that we can make more sales, we can reach more people and the rest. Are there risks associated with that? Tell me two.
Just come again.
A business wants to cause change, wants to evolve. Now they are offline. So they want to move online. They want to have a website and a mobile app to scale up their products, their services. So the question is, are there some risks? Are there some uncertainties? Are there some effects that this is going to have on this particular change that they intend to deploy, or this solution they are bringing to board, or on the enterprise on a large scale? Like two risks, two set of uncertainties.
Huh? Network for like 30 seconds. I did not hear you. Network was.
Okay, so I was talking about risks. So risk is the effect of uncertainty on the value of a change, a solution, or the enterprise. So for us to better understand some of what these uncertainties and risks might be, so I'm not asking, if you have an offline business, let's say is a supermarket, and they now want to migrate online so that they can now serve a lot of customers online. Now, to do that migration, to boost sales, what can be the set of uncertainties that they might have? What can be some sort of the risks they might have? I need to.
Okay. One, migration to online. Not all their customers might have a mobile, might have a phone, and also the one that have internet.
Okay, good. So not
as
all
well.
their customers are going to have smartphones. So they're going to cut off 1% of their even existing customers if they choose to migrate, if they used to have that change. Yes, next.
And then second one, okay. Some people might prefer to go out there to get what they want instead of sitting in their house to order. Some people prefer going out, a form of going out.
Okay, so uncertainties. Some people might look at opinion. So this is about opinion. Some people's opinion, some of them, what they would prefer is that they want physical procurement. They don't want kind of remote stuff, or they want to actually see what they are buying.
Like, not
come again.
Not necessarily see what they're buying though, but some people prefer to go out as a form of going out instead of staying at home. They just want to walk out.
Yeah, some people also some people want to buy and also window shop together. Some people is a form of recreation. Some people, because of the credit card or the online fraud you have online, they will prefer to do it physical. So you have a lot of uncertainties that this business, to implement this change, have to look at. That's what you talk about risks. The requirements. What are requirements? So it's a usable representation of a need. This morning I showed you some sample requirements. I gave you a document for like an application and what the requirements are. So each of those things are what we want to be achieved. So that's a need. Get that?
Yes.
Good. So requirement classification scheme. So we have business requirement, we have stakeholder requirement, we have solution requirement, we have functional requirement, we have non-functional requirement. So now you need to understand something, that if you need to propose some change, one of the things you're going to be looking at is requirements. And this requirement, for you to deploy this requirement, one of the first things you want to be looking at is what? One of the things you want to be looking at is, just a second, please. One of the things you want to be looking at is requirements. Because if you check the software development lifecycle video I shared to you on the group, you're going to see that deploying a solution is always a process. Now, for you to deploy that solution or cause change for that enterprise, you need to first go collect some requirements. And the question is, in this requirement, they are of different types. Everybody have what they are, each stakeholder have what they want to be achieved. If you need to site a filling station, for instance, now the stakeholder, let's say the owner of the business, have its own needs. The business have a particular need. The environment have a particular need. The regulatory body have a particular need. In terms of how the solution is to function, there's a requirement. Some things that do not actually relate to the functionality of the filling station, for instance, it's also a requirement. Take, for instance, you don't need a supermarket for a filling station to function. True or false?
True.
But it's a requirement. You don't need a tire service center. You know what the tire service center is, right? Where you go change your tires, do repairs, do the mechanics and the whatever, they do all of those stuff. It's not functional to, it's not core to the having the filling station, but it's a requirement. True or false?
True.
Good. So you have transition requirements. So we want to look at all of these requirements and know what they are, then we can move on. So the first one is what? Business requirement. So this has to do with, why are we even initiating the business? So we need statement of goals, we need objectives, we need the outcome that describes why a change has to be initiated. Why do we need to even have the filling station in the first place? Or why do we need to have an expansion? You can see a filling station, let's say 10 pumps. They might say, okay, we want to buy the additional land and expand it. Somebody was sharing with me about how a school have expanded to all their adjoining buildings left and right, that they're even trying to buy off their own building. Are you together? Are we together? Now you see that some of their requirements are to actually expand the scope of their service delivery. That is very core to the business requirement. So they can apply to the whole of an enterprise, a business area, or a specific initiative. A business of 5 persons can decide to say, okay, they don't need to, you know, if you need to grow a business, there are different ways you can grow a business. You can grow a business by geographically. You can grow a business by expanding the products you have. You can grow a business by expanding the services you have. You can grow a business by partnership and affiliation. So there are several ways to grow a business. So now, the business requirements can just be to a particular business area. It can be, okay, let us just expand our team so that we can serve more, not necessarily having another office or a branch office. So that's what business requirement. Then stakeholders. Stakeholders is actually anybody that is going to be impacted. Take, for instance, for that school that is doing expansion. So stakeholders are going to be all of the owners of the building around that school. True or false?
True.
True, yes. So stakeholders for the filling station is also going to be all the adjoining lands. Stakeholders is also going to, even for the school, stakeholder is also going to be the regulatory authority for the school board. If a company wants to do a software, a mobile app that's going to do logistics, there's a regulatory body that accredits logistics company. There's a certification body that has to do with business registration. All of those people are stakeholders. Do you even know the users are also stakeholders? Who is going to use that particular? That's why at times you do needs assessment, you do surveys, because they are stakeholders. Anybody that's going to be impacted, anybody that's going to be influenced, anybody that's going to be interested are all stakeholders. So don't forget, they might serve as a bridge between business and solution requirement, because at times you will need to elicit requirements from them. Okay, tell me how you're going to elicit requirements from, let's say, two stakeholders if you need to set up a hospital.
Okay.
Or if you need to expand an existing hospital so that you can serve more patients.
So, the number, it depends on the number of your customers, the patients. Probably you have
So you don't know how to answer my question. So let me put my question in a very simple format. You want to expand a hospital. You have an existing hospital. As a business analyst, there's a problem. Part of the problem is that from the data that we have, we are not meeting the needs of our patients. So we need to do, our lab needs to be bigger. We need to be able to do more tests. We need to get some more equipment. We need to expand the wards. Women that are due for births, giving birth, we need to expand most of their wards. Then maybe we don't have a neonatal ward. We need to have a place where we put kids under birth age. We need to do these expansions. So the question I'm asking is, as a business analyst, if you have to evaluate this now, who are going to be your stakeholders? Give me two. And tell me how they can contribute to your eliciting requirements.
The staff?
Yes, good. So the existing staff, so the nurses you have there, the doctors you have there, the lab technicians you have there, they are going to be stakeholders. Who else? Who else is going to be a stakeholder?
The patients.
So patients are also going to be stakeholders. So from these two sets of...
Only the
Come again?
I said all the regulatory board.
Yes, the regulatory body. Most hospitals, they will have the hospital board. They are going to have the all of that. So how would they help in better understanding what the needs of the organizations or the needs of the hospital are? Because you can deploy a solution for a hospital and that still doesn't meet the needs, because you didn't carry the stakeholders along. So how can these stakeholders help?
The staff. But probably employ more hands, because you're not going to overwork the existing staffs. They might not be able to cover up their...
Yeah, so the staff are stakeholders in the sense that, yes, we need to add more staff, Then, in terms of requirements, we need also to ask them questions on what the needs are. Same thing for the regulatory bodies. We will need to know what the standards are, because most of the times when we expand, we'll still call them to come and do what? To come and accredit. We'll still call them to come and validate whatever that we're doing. So that's how that's what you understand by business requirement. That's also what to understand by stakeholder requirements. So let's look at solution requirements. So we want to describe the capabilities and qualities of the solution. For every solution that we want to deploy, we want to ask ourselves, what is that solution going to solve? What need will the solution meet? Then we also have functional requirements and functional requirements. To get this solution, there are some stuff that describe the capabilities that the solution must have. So this is called the must have. Then we can call this the can have. There's also what we call the should have. I think we'll call it must have, should have, can have. Okay, must have, should have, and could have. Could have. So it's called MOSCU. So let me get a diagram that explains it to you. So 1 minute, go through this and let me know if you understand it.
Yeah, okay.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So you have non-negotiable product needs. So if I'm going to expand this hospital, if I'm going to expand this school, if I'm going to expand this filling station, there are things that are non-negotiable. Those are must-have. Those are what you call functional. So you see your functional requirements are your must-have and should have. Your non-functional requirements are your could have and will not have. Will not have has to do with initiatives that are not priority for this specific time frame, but they can also contribute value maybe at a later stage. So you see that if you need to actually meet the need of a business, or if you need to make a company grow, like in one of our offices, we're trying to do some set of upgrades. Some of the upgrades are going to cost quite a lot of money. Now, we just have a list of, I think in November, we had a list of 20 items. And that 20 items as requirements for the upgrade, for the kind of solution we want to deploy. We now like put them in hierarchy. After putting them in hierarchy, you now take out the non-negotiable. We sort out those ones. And we know that even these requirements with time, they change.
Yeah.
What is going to change them? Money inflow, cash inflow, the needs of the clients, the circumstances of the time. So several things are going to influence whether these requirements that you listed, like a lady that wants to get married, she's going to list quite a lot of things, true of us.
Sure.
She's going to say, my man is going to be this, my man is going to have a 10 billion in his account, my man is going to be tall, he's going to be handsome, he's going to be knowledgeable, he's going to fear God, he's going to have a car, What happens? In that list, there's always the must have, there's always the should have, there's always could have, there's always a, maybe we're not having big, God will do it for us later on. Then even when that lady gets married, what happens? That requirement have a life cycle. So with time, she will just say, it's well. She says, it's well that God understands. She said, God understands. So that's about, because the solution is to have a happy home, is to have an awesome marriage. But that solution, there are some requirements that we need for that solution. So, but not everything can be a given. Not everything. So some things are going to be functional and some things are not going to be what? Non-functional. Then we have transition requirements. Describe the capability that the solution must have in order to facilitate transition from current state of the enterprise to a desirable future state. But that will not be needed once the transition is completed. Take, for instance, you can say, okay, I'm going to need 50 marketing staff at the start. Once we have that, we go into the market, we'll do all of that. Now we're going to after 6 months, we'll now train these foot soldiers and now convert them to full-time staff. Actually, that is a transition requirement. Others will have to go. Maybe because they don't, they're not knowledgeable enough, they are not pulling their target, they're not meeting our needs. But in-house, we're going to be working with 50%, 6 months contract. After 6 months contract, we're now going to do what? Transit into what? Full-time for just 5 or 10. That's an example of a word, of a transition requirement. So who are stakeholders? So the stakeholders are going to be business analysts, the customer, SME experts. SME is subject matter expert, right? So if you want to set up a law firm, or let's say you want to set up a real estate company to meet a particular need, but you might have some litigation issues. So you're trying to understand how the business landscape is. So you need to get some knowledge from stakeholders like subject matter experts in that field. You need to talk to them, you need to go meet them, you need to ask questions. You need to look at their research, you need to look at their blogs, look at their podcasts, look at their essays, look at what they are saying. On TV, for instance, you have stakeholders. If radio stations need to analyze some things, they call it what? Subject matter experts. You have end user implementation SMEs. So somebody can be a domain name, domain subject. Domain means a particular area, a particular niche. You have cybersecurity subject expert. You have what's it called? You have software subject matter expert. You have health subject matter expert. Somebody can have a PhD. He's a subject matter expert, but doesn't mean that he's an implementation subject matter expert. Doesn't mean that he can implement. Is this possible?
It can be possible, but must not be.
You say it can be possible, but not.
It can be possible, and then it's person may not be.
Yes, the person can be a PhD holder, but tell him to come and implement a solution, he's not going to. It's not able to. He will not be able to do it. Somebody can be a software engineer, PhD, but cannot deploy a software. Somebody can be a doctor, but cannot analyze the patient and give whatever. Because why? Maybe he doesn't have the experience yet. But doesn't mean he's not a subject matter expert. He is. But to deploy, or somebody can be a PhD holder, a doctor, maybe health, but he might not be able to deploy an interventionist program for WHO in a rural area because he has not done that kind of thing. So you need to collaborate with what? An implementation subject matter expert. Operations support, project manager, tester, someone that's going to test the solution, a regulator, sponsor, and supplier. So what's the difference between requirement and design? So requirement is what we want to do. Then the design is what looks like the solution. You get that?
Yeah.
So requirement is what we need to achieve. Design is what the solution is going to be like. So there's a link. So you get a requirement, you design it, then you have the solution. So these two will help you achieve your solution. So requirements are focused on the need, design are focused on the solution, like I said. The distinction between the requirements and design is not always clear, right? Because the requirement, it's like a textual document, like something you've penned down. The design is going to be from the requirement that's actually targeting the solution. So this looks like the software development life cycle. So, but I would love you to look at the software development life cycle so that you can actually grab a lot of knowledge with how other softwares or solutions are actually implemented. You have questions so far?
No.
Okay, let's just answer two of these questions, number 1 and number 3. 2 minutes. What's the answer to number 1?
Okay. Reusable requirement.
No. Solution that will not be needed once the new solution is operational. That is transition.
Oh, I didn't read not.
Yes,
I thought I saw something that will be.
that will not be needed. So transition. I gave an example of when you have 50 staff, they do marketing. Once you want to launch properly, it's just contract for 6 months, then you just need only 5 and you move on. So it's just a transition requirement. Who is ultimately responsible for requirement in a project? So that's the business analyst.
Business analyst.
Okay, so we'll return, we'll have a 10 minutes break, we'll return and see how far we can go. Any questions so far?
No.
Okay.